What's up YouTube? Del here from Zephyr, and here is a full live duel from locals. On the left you've got myself playing Clown Crew, and on the right we have Red Dragon Archfiend. So we're going to be starting off with Planet Rice-Off. We're going to attempt to use the effect to grab ourselves a Kash, and my opponent decides to use an Ash Blossom. Now in Clown Crew, if an Ash Blossom is dropped on anything apart from a Malabrisme, you're very happy. So we activate Rehearsal here. We're going to tribute off the Passonnière, the Nouvelle card. And this is going to allow us to add the Bien Caviso, and then any Clown Crew spell or trap. So if I don't already have Malabrisme, which obviously I do with this hand, I've decided to go for New Face, and the idea is I want to set up both the trap cards for my play. We're going to activate the Malabrisme. The only thing we kind of fear here in Red Dragon Archfiend is if my opponent activates a Dominus Impulse. Fua, not that much of an issue. They're only going to get one draw. And they do get one draw off of that. I tribute off both my Fusion and my XZs, and I get to go Chaining 1 Bianca Viso to draw 2. Chaining 2 will be the Fiends to set a spell card, being the Operatics, and then Chaining 2 will be... I did that in such a weird order, but Chaining 2 would have set me the trap card, which is the other trap card I've got. I draw 2 cards, one of them being Birth. Now, this is more so just as a deterrent, because obviously I can't normal summon anything, and if I did draw a Kash monster, all I've got to do is get it to the grave. But with 2 monsters in my opponent's graveyard already, all I need them to do is activate a spell card, and I can banish 3 from their graveyard. So we end here with... we activate the Operatics. I was forgetting I was under Fua. Bring out the Meteor, and then the end phase I'm going to draw 3 because I tributed off a Pendulum with Ritual, with Rehearsal, and then tributed off 2 with Bianca Viso, so a nice little refresh there, and then being able to set kind of 2 along the back during the around the spell and trap zone. During the standby phase, make sure we activate the New Face, and we're going to be targeting, or don't target, but we're going to be attempting to put back the 2 extra deck monsters and Rehearsal. I think at this point you either keep the Malabrisme in the grave or you keep the Rehearsal. I decided to keep the Malabrisme for the bounce back, and then I'm going to get to draw 1 more card. I wouldn't say it's like desperation, but at this point you might as well recycle your resource, and then I could draw into anything, even a resource. So yeah, just confirm this one. Yeah, I was going to say, did I draw? Yeah, so I draw a card here. Like the way I've built this deck, I'm either drawing into a breaker or I'm drawing into a card that can disrupt. And keeping in mind with the Bianca Viso, the other benefit is especially when the side deck gets involved, if you put Vanity's Fiend in, that's also another card you could be tributing, like getting access to. So, activating the Crimson Gaia. There's a couple of different ways we can do this. So we're going to activate the Soiree. Soiree lets you summon 2, one from the deck or extra deck, from the extra deck or the main deck. Now the idea is that I wanted to go for Flare. And the reason that I wanted to go for the Flare is that when it's tributed, I can either shuffle back all rituals or I can obviously book a moon. And then on top of that, with New Face already face up, when I tribute summon, I can destroy cards equal to the number of monsters tributed. Spells and traps as numbers tributed. I'll just explain to my opponent now that, you know, Meteor means my opponent cannot activate card effects when I tribute summon. Flare will book. And obviously, because my opponent's on a Synchro deck as well, if I was to tribute off the Meteor and I didn't want to recycle a card from the graveyard, I could shuffle back all Synchros from the grave and field, which can also be like a massive disruption. So we let them resolve the Crimson Gaia, and this is going to grab them the Vice Dragon. The Vice Dragon is basically like the free summon of the deck, which is absolutely fine. So they summon this, they then search out a Resonator, and the idea is you're either going to search out a starter, or you're going to search out an extender. In this form, we're using Dark Resonator. Reveal Red Dragon Archfiend, special summon it down, get an additional normal summon of a Resonator Tuner. We're now going to chain the, well, not chain, but use Bianca Viso. The idea of this one is, I now have the choice, do I book the non-tuner or do I book the tuner? And knowing that with the additional normal summon, I can book the tuner, the non-tuner might be quite damaging. So this is me being able to tribute into a Kash Unicorn. And the benefit of this one is I can also get to basically rip from my opponent's extra deck a core piece. So we recycle, or we use Fiends to set Rehearsal. Just checking if Vice Dragon has any graveyard effects before I decide what I'm going to book. So we're obviously going to book with the Flare, which is really good actually. I think it's kind of undervalued. So just deciding which one to book. Like if I book the tuner, then my opponent just normal summons down a Resonator and off they go. So if I book the non-tuner, it now makes it a little bit more awkward. Just debating if we're going to use the Rehearsal. Rehearsal's going to destroy the Crimson Gaia. You'll actually see as well, so if you saw closely, that during the draws, I also draw into a Dominus Purge, and I held the Dominus Purge back, like, probably a little bit too long. So I used the Purge from hand, and my opponent's like, bro, where's the space? And I was like, you're so right. And then I had a Dominus Purge set. So we used the Dominus Purge. There is a trap card in the graveyard being Soiree, which is why I didn't use the graveyard effect of that as yet. So that's going to negate and then destroy the Soul Resonator. So now, again, it kind of puts a bit more pressure on my opponent that they have to have these extenders. Now, luckily for my opponent, they did actually get access to a Abyssal Magnamut, which obviously is all going to be part of, if you see it, you see it. But so Abyssal Magnamut are going to target the flare, banish that from the graveyard. The other benefit as well is, or the reason I use the Bianca Viso to get Unicorn, is that the Soiree graveyard effect specifically will only let me get access to a Clown Crew, whereas the Bianca Viso lets you get to anything. Now, because I built this deck, the Red Dragon Archfiend deck, I knew that he was going to try and search a card in the end phase, which is Druid Swarm that I'm not too worried about, but I highly expected him to go for the... I expected him to go for Harmonia, so I banished Malong. Malong or Pack Bit, one of the two. And I should have banished the Crimson Gaia, because I was like, okay, well, on the field, he's only got a Synchro 9. Synchro 9 is not going to get me anywhere. And then he special down the Vision Resonator that he had hard open, and I was like, wow, okay. So that instantly opens up the ability for a Synchro 8. Yeah, and then we all know that the last card I've got set is Rehearsal, so that's not going to do nothing. So all I've got is Soiree to possibly get me into a second Bianca Viso, which I don't have. I do still have an Ash Blossom, so again, it's just all about timing that correctly so that I don't get broken. Now, what I should have done with Unicorn, why I was worrying so much about Harmonia, I don't know. But I really should have just got rid of the Crimson King. The Crimson King would have made it so much more awkward for my opponent to do anything with. And this is where I learned that lesson the hard way. Like, I should have done it. I just got one of them ones where I got blinkered. I was like, for some unknown reason, so worried about Harmonia that I got rid of one of the Harmonia targets, and I really shouldn't have done. So, yeah, silly, silly, silly. Anyway, we are using Vision to grab Crimson Gaia, and then we are using the Crimson King to grab Resonator Call, which is going to allow him to add back a Resonator from the grave or get one from the deck. We haven't used... Have we used Synchron Resonator? So we're just going to Ash this, just to make sure that doesn't go through. Again, it's all about just kind of confirming levels. And now we're going to use Birth. So Birth is going to let me banish face down. So we get rid of the two Resonators and we get rid of the Resonator Call, because it does have a graveyard effect. The rest are like irrelevant. There's not really anything I need to use there. So... yeah, he knows the Rehearsal. There's nothing more he can really do here. Did we add back a Resonator from Synchron Resonator? I suppose that could have been an additional normal one, right? We're just calculating that with Rice off, my cards are up a little bit in attack. So he attacks the Bianca Viso. This was only like 100 damage, I think, because there's a Dark, Light, and Wind. And... is it just Dark, Light, and Wind? So it's only up by 300. Yeah. But this is where the Kash tier is coming like so clutch, because now what I've got two monsters stuck on the field right now. So they search out the Harmonia, and I'm kind of like, all right, well, if I just don't use a monster effect on the field, I'll be fine. We draw 2 during the end phase because of me tributing a Ritual and an Xyz. Then we're going to be using New Face during the draw phase, which is why I drew 2 in the end phase, and then I draw 1 for my turn. And then during the standby phase, we're going to activate New Face to put back the Bianca Viso, put back the Flare, and then put back the Xyz Fiends back into the extra deck, and then draw 1 card. So now the way to play around Harmonia is I just don't activate a monster effect on the field, which is kind of fine. I can avoid doing that anyway. But Unicorn basically now becomes free tribute fodder, because I'll tribute off and then Birth just brings it straight back. So it really just comes down to if I'm worried about my opponent using a hand interaction on me, and then I just banish from their extra deck. But honestly, I don't think it's needed. So we activate Rehearsal. I've got, like, as you can see, I've got loads of cards in hand. That's the other benefit the Kash tier is technically I tribute off. They just reveal the Beast, which is a dead card. It's not going to do anything, and they just scoop it up, and, you know, we're going to move into game 2. So in game 2, my opponent goes first. I get to drop the Broodier. And then he kind of plays it I say well, but also risky. So I later on find out that he's opened up a Vice Dragon. He's also got Droll, and he's got Dominus Impulse. So I'm surprised they didn't let me draw a card and then hit me with the Impulse. Not the Impulse, sorry, the Droll. So he passed turn, I draw for turn, and then I realised, I was like, I've got Rehearsal in my hand, but I've got no monster to tribute. So I activate the Malabarisme, and I'm like, if he's got an Impulse and an Ash, I'm stuck. And he activates the Impulse, and I'm like, yep, that'll do it. Because then I think my hand is a Rehearsal, a Soiree, an Ash. No, it's not even an Ash, because I would have attributed the Ash off. So it's a Rehearsal, a Soiree, and then another card. I think it might... I don't think it's of anything use to me. So I kind of pass it there. I'm just confirming the Malabarisme graveyard effect, but I think this is where Red Dragon Archfiend can really start to cook. So we get Vice Dragon. One of the other cards is Droplet. So the Droplet is kind of nice, but again, it really doesn't do anything. So we get Vice Dragon into rotation. This is then going to get the Search. So you can go for Synchron Resonator or Vision Resonator, obviously, or even Darkness Resonator, which is probably like the best one to go to because that's your Synchro level 8 play in rotation. So special summoning that down. Oh, am I thinking on res? I think I'm just trying to do the maths here of like just trying to be cautious of time. I'm like, okay, reveal the resonator, nothing on res, and just trying to figure out. I'm like, right, okay, well, the way we play this one out is what's going to happen, because I was like, the Soiree's nice if I've got the Bianca Viso to tribute, which I don't. So I'm just trying to figure out the best I can do is I wall up with 2 monsters. And I think from that point on, it just kind of... So we activate the Soiree. So it'll be Chain Link 1, the Crimson King. Chain Link 2, Soiree. Chain Link 3, if there's no response, will be Droplet, send in the Soiree to negate the Crimson King. Which is kind of fine. But again, the more and more I think about this, if I had the Bianca Viso, this would be... like even a Kash Tira, this would be godly, because then I'd just banish the Soiree. Oh no, sorry, I couldn't. It would have to be Bianca Viso. Banish the Soiree, tribute off my XEs and my fusion, summon down Bianca Viso, and then like we're drawing 2 or negating 2, and then we're getting trapped. And I'm just like, yeah, no, he's got everything. So the normal summon of Soul Resonator just kind of kicks it off. Anyway, getting into that all important game 3, I get to go first again. So we start off with Kash Tira Unicorn. This card, Kash Tira's put in so much work. Now this is risk and reward. He is right on this one, but I used Unicorn because I already had Malabarisme. So I was like, I think I've also got Bianca Viso. So I'm like, my first search doesn't really matter here. So I was like, right, okay, let's go for this. We'll use Coronary Confrontation, give my opponent 1, and then they use the Impulse on this. So again, for future note, anyone playing against Clown Crew, always Impulse or Ash Malabarisme. Like, it gives you 2 bodies. It's crazy. So tribute both off of the Bianca Viso, and then this is where we're going to start to build. So just from this position here, we're setting 1 trap card, which is New Face. We're setting a spell card, which is, I believe, Operatics. I can't imagine I wouldn't set anything apart from Operatics unless I've got 1 in hand. And then we get to draw 2 cards. So drawing 2 cards here. The fact that we've got Birth as well means that if I wanted to tribute off the Unicorn, I could do. I learnt my lesson from duel number 1. Like, if he activates anything, I'm so looking at that extra deck and get rid of the Crimson King. Like, there's no doubt about that whatsoever. So... just confirming here, so we're going to activate the Birth. We're just debating like Operatics. So reveal the Flare here. Also keep in mind in the end phase I'm going to be drawing at least 2 right now. So now it's just about how much do I respect Nibiru, which evidently I don't, because I use Rehearsal to tribute, get me a Bianca Viso and a... actually maybe I do. Like, yeah, no I don't, because then I'll just bring back the Unicorn and that's my 5th summon. So if my opponent wants to drop a fat nib on me, they can. The only difference is I'm now going to be able to... I'm still only going to draw 2. But we set 1, set 2. And then end phase, draw 2. Yeah, draw 2, because we discarded the Flare. Yeah, and then I think that's pretty much it. But, like, I've got a full hand now. And I've got the Soiree. I've got the New Face. So, I actually really underrated how good New Face is, to be honest with you. So, New Face, and because I just recycle my materials. I recycle the XZs, the Fusion, Flare, which is a card I don't mind having back in the main deck. I'm putting a starter back in my deck. I'm increasing my chances of drawing a starter. So, and then I draw a Disruption or whatever. And I'm pretty sure I actually drew a Flare, because I ironically was like, I looked to myself and went, I kind of just thought, wow, okay, cool. what's the chance of drawing the card I put back? Obviously not exactly the exact copy, but I think there is an Ash in there somewhere. So Darkness Resonator, Unicorn. I'm like, yeah, I'm not giving you a chance. I'm so ripping that Crimson King away. And then straight away, I'm like, right, okay, I'm getting rid of that Crimson King. There's just no way that Crimson King stays around. See how fast I go and get rid of it. Learning my lessons from the first duel, very importantly. We do have the additional normal summon of a Resonator Tuner. So he's going to use that first. And the reason I say he's going to use that first, because this is going to bait out an interaction. And very well kind of navigated. Because if you have a way to stop the Soul Resonator, you're always going to do it. So I use Droplet, I send the Soiree, and the reason for that is that the Soiree can then allow me to tribute into a Bianca Viso, which is going to be a draw 2 or negate 2. And then we're going to tribute summon for our main normal summon into a non-tuner being the Stone Sweeper. I'm surprised. I mean, there was no benefit in using the Stone Sweeper because if you use that, you get the Resonator. You've still got multiple tuners on the field. So activating Fallen the Virtuous, get rid of that non-tuner. This is the one issue with synchro style decks, like apart from Cool Tunes, because Cool Tunes are just like, you know what, I'll just use my hand anyway. It's so difficult if your opponent knows how to play against synchros, which is quite a well-known mechanic nowadays. Because you either stop them having tuners on the field or you stop them having non-tuners on the field. So with Red Dragon Archfiend, they're actually quite prolific at getting tuners onto the field, but not so prolific to getting non-tuners onto the field because they only play Stone Sweeper, Bestials, and I suppose also with Birth I'm able to get rid of all of them. But we're going to go into the Bianca Viso. At this point there's no point in me negating anything, so I might as well just go Bianca Viso to draw. We use the trap card to destroy the Crimson Gaia, which means that's not going to be able to resolve to get a search off, and then we get to draw 2 cards, and I'm pretty sure my hand ends up with something like 3 flares. So yeah, I mean, I really like Red Dragon Archfiend. It's just kind of one of these ones where if you can starve the resource of non-tuners, you're in a good position. So during the standby phase, using new face, put 3 back into the deck, one of them being the Soiree, one of them being the Bianca Viso, and another one I believe was Rehearsal or Malabarisme. Draw 1, draw into an Ash. My hand is like very stacked right now. Birth just brings back Unicorn, so I'm like, cool, I'll bring that back. Using the Flare. And then from this point on, with only 1 card in the hand, again, the biggest threat that I need to worry about is Nibiru. And I quite like the idea of putting Nibiru into the deck for Clown Crews. So I've seen 2 options. I've seen people that put in Ra Sphere mode, because during your opponent's turn, you use Bianca Viso to then tribute off 3 of your opponent's monsters and give them a Ra Sphere mode, which is pretty funny. But then with Nibiru, the reason that Nibiru is so good in the deck is that you can Nibiru your opponent. If you Nibiru their Synchro, Xyz, Fusion, Link, Pendulum, whatever, you'll get draws if you've got Matinee or Parakeets face up. But then on top of that as well is if I have Fusion, Xyz, whatever, and I tribute them with Nibiru, I'll be able to trigger off all their effects. So it's kind of a cool little way of getting a bit of resource, which is quite nice. But I don't know if it's absolutely necessary. Anyway, so now you're about to see how this steamrolls. So this steamrolls so fast. So the Bianca Viso is tributed during my opponent's turn. I get to tribute someone into Fenrir, which is pretty funny. But the benefit of the Fenrir is that if I can get a Fiends back to the field, my Fenrir will be up by 1,000 attack. And so will my Bianca Viso, which I can do with the Matinee Operatics. I've also got Piercing Battle Damage, double Piercing Battle Damage, because I kept the Fusion Monster on the field. So I'm like, right, okay, well, I've got Planet Rice off, which means all of my monsters are going to be buffed by the 4 different attributes on the field. So Earth, Wind, and Dark. And Light, sorry. So I'm attacking with that, and then I'm doing double piercing damage, and then attack, and then opponent just kind of, yeah, sees it there. I actually had a lot of fun at this locals event. Now, don't let this duel kind of detract you from how good Red Dragon Archfiend is, and I'm going to put up more duels of Red Dragon Archfiend if you guys want to see them, because the deck did very, very well against Canine Vanquish Soul. It then also faced Archmage, which could be a really kind of cool duel to see as well. And then prior to this, they also faced like a pure Clown Crew, which would be quite interesting to see. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe and happy dueling.